In this video we're going to talk about the G10 command, and the G10 command is a line at the top of the program that will automatically load a work offset into your work offset data page in your control. And this is mainly done in production environments where fixturing allows you to use the same work offsets even once it's been taken out and then put back into the machine because of dowel pins or type of fixturing that repeats the same location from one job to the next. So let's go over how a G10 line is structured and some details inside of that. So the first thing I need to point out is anytime a G10 line is used, we have to make sure that we put the machine in a G90 mode. When the machine is put in G90 mode and a G10 line is written, the X, Y, and Z values will be loaded as you see them in the top of the program. If for some reason the G90 is not commanded at the top of the G10 line before the G10 line is read and the machine was left in the G91 mode, these numbers will actually be added to the existing numbers in these work offsets. So you got to be real careful when you write a G10 line. Make sure that you have a G90 active before these numbers are read. Okay, now you could put that G90 right above the G10 lines, or you can put them on the same line with the G10 line. Whatever you prefer, as long as it's called its modal, and it will stay active until it's changed. Okay, so the first G10 line that we're looking at right here is loading the X, Y, Z values in G54. And the reason it does that is because of the L2 work offset group, and inside that group you will have P1 through P6, which is the G54 through G59, which are your common work offsets. So on the next line we have a G10 L2, and then we have a P2. So the P2 will load these X, Y, and Z coordinates in the G55 work offset. Okay? So let's take a look at the different groups that can be used for both Haas and FANUC style controls. Alright, so here's the breakdown of the G10 line. Obviously we start with the G10 on that line, followed by an L offset category. So the L2 category will be the common work offsets, which are the G54 through G59, and that is the same on both Haas and FANUC style controls. The L20 extended work offsets will be the G110 through G129 on the Haas, and the G54.1 P1 through G54.1 P48 on a FANUC style. So the L will have to be followed by a P value to determine what offset to load the XYZ offset into. So an L2 followed by a P1 will load the XYZ in a G54 offset. Then a P2 will be a G55, and then the P6 obviously the G59. Okay. Then the L20, the extended work offsets on a Haas, P1. L20 followed by a P1 will load the work offset in a G110. A P2 will be a G111 and so on. An L20 followed by a P1 on a FANUC will load the G54.1 in position 1. Then P2 will load it in G54.1 P2 and so on. So let's take a look at a few examples that I've put together so that you can see how a G10 line is structured. And I'll show you on each line which offset is actually getting populated. Alright, so here are a few examples of the G10 line. I've grouped the L2 category together, 1 through 6, so it shows you G54 through G59, and that will work on both Haas and FANUC style controls. Then the extended versions for the Haas, and then the extended version of the FANUC style controls. Okay, so I'm going to leave a copy of this as a downloadable PDF in the email so that you have something to reference. Now, the one thing I do want to point out, so if you ever need to make an offset in the work offset, let's say that you are trying to change the toolpath in relation to another feature on the part, make sure that the adjustment is made on the G10 line, because if you're trying to do this manually now, let's say in the G54 work offset page, as soon as you make that change and you start the program, when it reads the G10 line, it's going to automatically load these numbers back into that line. So any change you made will be overwritten. So if you need to make an offset in a work offset, make sure you do it right here in the program. Okay? And then each time you hit cycle start, it will reload and override the work offset in the offset page. So just be aware that offsets have to be made in the program.